56th Field had several gunners returning from deployment and preparing to deploy on operations around the world. The unit had 4 gunners deployed on Op Reassurance in 2023 in support of our regular force partners at 1 and 2 RCHA in Latvia. The unit has 1 officer deployed in Lebanon in support of Operation Impact and 1 prepared to deploy in support of Operation Unifier. Most notable is the unit's field battery commander, Major Palandra, who returned from Op Reassurance earlier this year with 1 RCHA, where he filled the role of the Fire Support Coordination Center officer, a senior staff position typically filled by a regular force officer. Notable is that just the year prior, Major Palandra was an instructor on the Artillery Operations Officers course, which prepares artillery officers for that role. So the saying that those who can't teach can now be dismissed as myth in 56th Field. 2023 was a special year for veterans, as it marked the 80th anniversary of the Allied landings in Sicily during the Second World War, which was a significant turning point for Canada and her allies in that European theater. The operation, which was named Operation Husky, was executed by 1st Canadian Infantry Division and was supported by 2nd Field Regiment Royal Canadian Artillery, in which 56th Field's own 10 Battery was a sub-unit of, in addition to 5-4 Battery supporting C Battery of 1 RCHA. For this reason, many of the unit's outreach, ceremonial activities, and professional development and advanced training events assumed a theme of marking the unit's contribution to this oft-forgotten Italian operation. The commemoration kicked off with the regimental colonel of the Royal Regiment, Colonel Grebstad, visiting the unit to deliver a professional development session on his essay, The Guns of Sicily. The day was followed with a special guest night where the evening had an Italian theme in terms of music, menu, and even beverage for toast where the traditional port was substituted with Marsala. Additional historical professional development throughout the winter and spring included Canadian military historians and authors that would conduct educational training events. These subject matter experts included Mark Jolke, Professor Douglas Delaney, Christopher Case, and Brad St. Croix. The run-up culminated with an advanced training and battlefield tour event in Sicily. Leadership and merited gunners traveled to Sicily in July to march in the steps of 1st Canadian Infantry Division. The unit, under the tutelage of the Colonel Commandant retired Brigadier General Patterson, visited battle sites at Eno, Asoro, Agira, and Leonforte, and studied the experiences, victories, and challenges of artillery during Operation Husky. The contingent also participated in a 9-kilometer march from Centuripe to Adrano, where it would parade with other service groups that had come to mark the 80th anniversary. The unit also made an effort to lay markers for 5 gunners from the Niagara Peninsula who had died during the campaign. What made this event particularly special, other than the heat, was that the unit, prior to its departure, was able to connect with families of 4 of the 5 fallen soldiers. Following the commemorative events in Sicily, the contingent managed to squeeze in additional training on mainland Italy en route back to Rome. Additional training and ceremonial stands included Monte La Defensa, where 1st Special Service Forces won an important battle in December of 1942. The Liri Valley, where Canadian artillery fired a William target to break the Hitler line, and Cassino, to pay our respects at the Commonwealth Cemetery. 56th Field has an expansive history. It is impossible to mark every event for all its perpetuated units annually, but for 21 soldiers in 2023, the unit will be able to steward the history of its contributions in Italy in World War II for generations to come. The unit continues to pride itself on the high tempo of its combined individual and collective training. January saw the unit deploy locally to Norfolk County for Exercise Coal Gunner, for winter indoctrination in response to domestic emergencies amidst a simulated blizzard and search for missing persons scenario. In February, the unit completed the Observation Post Detachment member course, and in March, graduated driver instructors and examiners and executed Exercise Gravenstaffel Gunner, where Field Battery deployed its 6-gun battery, conducted fire plans, and qualified forward observation officers and observation post detachment second-in-command candidates. It was also the first time since COVID that the unit conducted an executrek and invited civilian employers out to have a taste of what the unit endures on a weekend in sunny Meaford. In April and May, the unit qualified 18 new gunners via its co-op program with 7 Toronto, culminating on the 32 Brigade Artillery Concentration Live Fire Exercise Steel Rain 2023. June focused on graduating candidates on both communicator and driver training, and in July, 56 surged in its duties for regimental summer training by leading and executing its third in-unit DP-3B Gun Area Troop Sergeant Major's course, which qualified 8 sergeants to the rank of warrant from across Canada. Concurrently, 56 would step up to lead another serial of the Artillery Common Course for gunners spanning Ontario's reserve units and 4 Canadian Division, with 36 graduates in total. In the fall, Field Battery would resume its in-year individual training, confirming 9 non-commissioned officers to the rank of sergeant via the Gun Detachment Supervisor and the Observation Post Detachment Commander's course. Notable is that the OPDC had not run in the Artillery Reserve since before 2018. These courses were confirmed on the innovative and Field Battery-led 4.5-day exercise, Switchback Gothic Line Gunner. The year concluded with 7 candidates completing their mounted communications course. 56's final tally had the unit lead and staff 13 courses, with 144 staff awarding 227 artillery qualifications for the nation's Artillery Reserve, 4 Canadian Division, and 32 Brigade, with 131 of those qualifications to 56 Field alone. As impressive as those statistics are, it was actually a lighter return in terms of volume than in previous years. Despite the heavy tempo of training, the unit still managed to engage in its connection with community, spanning the Niagara Peninsula and beyond. In April, then Colonel, now Brigadier General Hatton, reviewed our annual parade marking the Battle of St. Julian. The unit supported 7 Toronto in its coronation duties by firing a gun salute at Queen's Park in May. Marking the Sicilian campaign continued in September when the unit would exercise freedom of the city in Brantford during Valor Day. This time, the unit was honored to host as its reviewing officer, Director of Artillery Colonel Sarah Heer. In October, the unit would kick off the monster truck rally of the Norfolk County Fair and Horse Show in true gunner fashion at the Warriors' Day Parade. Later that month, the unit would return to Ohsweken and honor First Nations veterans at the Six Nations of the Grand Rivers Veterans Day Parade. Naturally, Remembrance Day would follow. This year, during Veterans Week, the unit was able to support 18 speaking events at schools, service clubs, and libraries. Remembrance Day itself was special as it would see the Honorary Colonel, Colonel Paul Williamson, fire his last round at the Remembrance Day ceremonies in his home city of Brantford as he closed out his tenure as our Honorary Colonel. The unit celebrated several honors and awards throughout the year. The Regimental Sergeant Major Chief Warrant Officer Dennis Shaughnessy was awarded Member of the Order of Military Merit. Captain Abrascato was awarded the Defense Meritorious Service Medal by the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa for his work in Iraq on Operation Impact. Majors Palandra and Verdinhill, Master Warrant Officers Caven and Morgan, all received the 32 Canadian Brigade Group Commanders Commendation for their contributions in individual training from 2016 to 2022. Sergeant Lodge received the Brigade Commander's Commendation for his role as Chief Clerk on a div-wide concentration FTX in 2022, despite only holding the rank of Corporal at the time. Sergeant Payton was recognized for a role as Team Captain of the 56 Field Grit Grinders and their national fundraising results in the 2022 Canadian Army run last year. Oh, speaking of which, those 56 Field Grit Grinders, they would go on to lead the fundraising efforts for the Canadian Army run in 2023 for the 3rd year in a row. This was the most amount of money raised to date by the unit, with nearly $12,700, which is over $27,000 raised for Canadian veterans charities over the last 3 years. So another year in review video.
Another one. Another one. And another one.
I know these are beginning to feel a bit, as we say in the Army, same as last year, but at least this one doesn't have a COVID reference, and hopefully I didn't just jinx that. Hear me out. 2023, while modeling the predictive tempo of previous years, was not without some uniqueness for 56. It was a year of first, with the 80th commemoration events of Op Husky and reinforcement of the foundations of what makes the culture and organization that is 56 Field special, proud, and successful in its own right. So another year in the books, and since we started doing these in 2021, it's always nice to take a look back at the forest for the trees and speak of the evolution of the unit. 1,036 qualifications in individual training since 2016 is something that always astounds me when you consider the unit did this in addition to its regular training, operational, and outreach duties. The unit has received words of praise from its commanders, often stating that the unit punches above its weight. I guess I can see how that's true from the perspective of outsiders, but for the gunners of the Niagara Peninsula, it really just feels like par for the course and necessary hard work to ensure readiness for operationals and sustained retainment in the unit. It will likely be a different narrator next year, but I have to say it's always been fun and to sit back and review things. And I very much look forward to some same as last year in 2024 with a twist again.